My next guest is a small business maker of speakers, including speakers for ventilators used in this pandemic. The CEO has received PPP funds, but says he's, quote, very concerned about what happens to American businesses after June 30th. Joining me now is Dan Digre. He's the CEO of Misco Speakers. And Dan, welcome. It's good to have you here.
Thank you. It's great to be here, Kelly.
Can you clarify what your speakers do with regard to ventilators? I hadn't heard of that.
Well, there in all medical equipment, there's some type of an alarm. We make speakers for patient diagnostic equipment, ultrasounds, and in ventilators, they're used as an alarm speaker. And Misco is, in fact, the only U.S. company that builds ventilator alarm speakers in the United States.
Wow. So how has that affected your business? I imagine demand for these components is as high as demand for the ventilators themselves, or at least was it at a period of time. And how did you find the PPP process? How has that helped your business, if it has?
Well, the PPP process has been huge for us. It started off a little rough. We're a small company, 70 employees, and we bank with a large bank. And we had all of our documentation ready. We were ready to go on the Friday, but the bank wasn't ready, and they weren't ready over the weekend. And finally, on Monday, they sent out an email and they said, "We're sorry. We're only servicing companies, nonprofits, and companies with under 50 employees. You'll have to look elsewhere." So we panicked. We thought, what are we going to do? So fortunately, our CFO had a relationship with a community bank. We met with the community bank via remote on Monday afternoon, submitted all of our documents on Tuesday morning, and by Tuesday afternoon, we had an SBA loan number and were fully approved.
Wow.
So we got approved very, very quickly. I think part of it was being prepared and part of it was being a little lucky in finding the right bank.
Absolutely. And you have about 70 employees, so I can see why that 50-employee cap would have been a problem. You said one of the big sort of double whammies you're facing is not just the shutdown of coronavirus, the effect on consumer demand, but the fact that your components were already facing, is it price hikes because of the tariff war with China?
Yeah, we have to bring in the components that we use to build the speakers for the ventilators on what's called List 3A, and this is part of the Section 301 trade action against China. We pay 25% tariff, a tax on all of those parts that come into the United States to build product here in the United States. So whereas our competitors who may also supply speakers for ventilators build their speakers in China or some other place in Asia, if they build it in China, they pay only a 7.5% tariff. And if they build it somewhere else, they don't pay anything. Of course, so not only does it put us at a competitive disadvantage, but now we also have a cash flow problem, right? Because right now, cash is king, and businesses are really, that's the beauty of the PPP loan,
right?
Is it's forgivable. And so now, on one hand, we're receiving funds from the PPP, and on the other hand, we're paying out massive amounts of tariffs to the Customs and Border Patrol.
Right. So maybe some kind of waiver would do a lot to help free up cash right now. I want to make sure people caught your point, which is that if you source your parts in China and import them to make the product here, you pay a 25% tariff. If somebody just pulled in the whole thing from China, it'd be 7.5%. Would you ever be able to source those parts to make even those components here in America?
Well, it takes time. And the thing with medical devices is, once a product's approved, changes happen very slowly, through a regulation process. So it's not a fast process to go through. Eventually, it could be done, but it would take a long time. And right now, the companies making ventilators really don't want to be dealing with changes and things like that. They want to ramp up. They want to produce these as quickly as possible. And we want to be able to do that as well.
Yeah, Dan, before you go, as you said, you were pleased you've been able to receive the PPP funds. They have helped your business, but you're concerned about what happens after June 30 because, roughly speaking, that's when the money runs out, right?
That's right. And the thing is there's so much uncertainty with the economy. I mean, what happens to all of us who've now been given this shot of liquidity through the end of June for payroll and rent and utilities and so forth? What if the economy doesn't come back after that? So I'm concerned not just for my business, but I'm concerned for our entire supply chain and for a lot of businesses in the United States of what happens after June 30th.
Yeah, and I'm just going to leave it there with that question hanging in the air so people can feel the gravity of it, and they're all experiencing it themselves too, of course.